Hey everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Welcome to my channel where we explore ideas for modern, sort of wonky kinds of quilts. Sometimes they end up as quilts, sometimes they don't. At any rate, welcome to the channel. Glad you're spending some time with me today. I'm grateful. We're going to be doing, and this probably will be the last week, some more with the knit one, purl one concept. We started out with a wonky pioneer braid with black and white prints on one side, brights on the other, added a little dot. Then we started making it more like knit. We didn't actually start out with the knit one, purl one. This is where it became knit one, purl one, with black on white prints in between brights to sort of mimic a knit stitch. And then I tried it with, because I'm obsessed with black and white prints and especially black and white stripes, I used a lot of stripes, a little bit of dot, and I'm really liking this one. This one I will continue for sure. And then Raymond suggested doing a folded corner snowball block kind of technique down here to look more like a knit stitch. And this is one of the things I want to pursue. I talked a bit in the previous video about what you could do with this, what else you could do in terms of design. And one of the things I commented was that you could use black on white on one side, white on black on the other side, and then make this a bright color just for that pop of color. And you could do it each one, or you could just periodically throw one in. You could make it just a single color that you repeat every now and then, or you could mix it up. So I want to play with that a little bit today. Then we also started exploring a purl stitch, which is a loop. It's what a knit stitch looks like on the other side. And I tried a couple of things that, this is the first I tried, wasn't really happy with that. I love curves. I had it wider, had to cut it down, wasn't crazy about this. I tried doing an applique of a bias strip across, and I didn't really clean that up very well, did I? But 2 pieces with the bias strip across. And then I thought, well, let's try something easier. And I wanted to try it with a stripe on the back and have that sort of recede to the background, and this had be the stars of the show. So I just appliqued strips on top of a black and white stripe, and I really love that. I don't know how much it looks like a purl stitch, but that was just the inspiration. So this is another thing we will do some playing with today. But first, let's start with the knit stitch variation here. And I have some black and white and white and black, black on white and white on black. And in most cases, it does matter. It's a very different look depending on what the background is. And one is very much darker than the other one, which isn't always true. There are pieces like that that could go either way. But for many of the black and white prints that I choose, there is a difference, a marked difference. And those are the ones that I'm looking for to do with this. So one side is going to be black on white, one white on black. And then I think to begin with, I'm going to do just every once in a while, I will put in a piece like this. And I just want to see overall how that looks. I'm a little fearful that the white on black is going to be overpowering, and there will be much more focus on this side. So I'm almost wondering if I shouldn't alternate them. I think that might be, oops, sorry, you can't see that very well. I think that might be the better part here. So yes, I'm just quite sure that now that I look at it, that this is just going to be a lot over here. That might be all right, depending on how I want to put the pieces together. And I'm almost, let's see if we can do at least a bit both ways, because I'm almost thinking that you could make these into, say, smaller blocks and then rotate them. So you could certainly do 180, which would put even more emphasis on this as the two white on blacks come together. But if you just rotated like 90 and did it different ways, or not even 90, you could do odd angles too. So I will do a little bit of both types, and I think I'm going to use different brights on here rather than just one color, so we can see how that looks. At some point we may do just a single color, but these are also not going to be such large pieces that I can we'll be doing a lot of colors. So let's explore and see if we find something we like. I will start with, I've been consistently cutting these strips about 6 inches long, so I will be doing that with these two just because it's easier. And I probably can rustle up some more different patterns here. I love this fabric. Sorry, not segue, it's digression. It has little pops of color in it. There's like a coffee cup in here, and it's a fun print. I like it a lot. All right. So I'm off to cut these and then we'll start putting them together. I have some strips cut here to 6 inches. There isn't a great variety in the prints, but that's all right. We're experimenting and I'm working with what I have. So my first step will be to do this part of it. I'm not doing this interstitial bit here, just continuous. I think I'll start out doing the darkers on one side, lighters on the other, and I'm going to actually start with a square to start from here, just because I know my eye is going to have trouble dealing with that space there. So I'm going to start with a square, and then I will right sides together, so flip, and then I will take this one, right sides together, so flip. You all know how this works. All right, I have those sewed on. I've pressed toward the strip that I just sewed, and just to finish this off a little bit visually, I have turned under those seams, so it looks a little neater. Now we're going to do this piece, except we're going to do it in a bright. You might have noticed that these are different widths. Doesn't bother me. In fact, that's by design. I do like things to be a little wonky. I think it adds interest. In this case, the wider ones also allow me to cut this into more of a wedge shape, as I did here, for example, which I think also adds to the fun of it. We're all about having fun doing this. So I can make this as wide, as long, and as wonky as I want it to be. And I think I'm just going to audition where this could go. Want it to be wonky. Want to make sure that it covers this point though. And I think oops, that won't work. There, right about there. So if I can find my scissors, I'm going to trim this off so I don't have a lot flailing around here. I will sew and flip that. Now I'm going to trim that. So that becomes that new V point at the bottom. Oh, wait a minute. No, I want to make that a little wonky. So let's trim it like that. It's not incredibly wonky, but a little bit. And then this one's a bit narrower. I'll just leave it as is. Now, because this is yellow and a solid, and these are black and white, it's not too bad because this piece underneath happens to be the black on white rather than the white on black. But it's still going to shadow through a bit, so I'm just going to trim that off, as you would if you were doing any half square triangle or turned back piece. Okay, so now we have that, and it's time to add on the next set of strips. And it is a little troubling, I think, if you've not done a braid before, to have these staggered ends here, but it's by design. They will be trimmed off like that, or in my case, they might be sort of a curvy line. So this is the basics of what we're going to do. And I'm kind of liking it, but you know, I like black and white prints. You will notice, however, I am refraining from using black and white stripes, which may surprise you. It's kind of surprising me, but I think that's draws too much attention to itself. That's all right in some cases, but I just want really the attention to be going to these little bits of color. It is interesting to me that I always put the darker side to the right. I do this when I'm doing surface design, fabric design. If I'm putting shadows on something, my instinct is to put it here, like the light is always coming from up here. It's kind of interesting. I didn't realize I was doing that with quilting too. Now, because this is a bit of an angle, not much of one, but a bit of an angle, I want to make sure this is a straight line for when I go to add on the next piece. And it isn't. I didn't really drop this down far enough to trim that off. So I'm just going to make sure that's a straight line. Doesn't have to be a parallel line to that, but I do want it to be straight down here. Now we have, as I see it, 3 choices here. You may come up with some more. If so, please let me know. I could do the same thing here with the same color. Maybe it's 4. With the same color, with a different color. It is 4. So there's 2. 3 would be to leave this just as is and go on with the next set of strips here. And find something other than what I've used. Like that, and then at some point put in another color or more yellow. Or I could take a strip that is not so clearly either dark or light, say this bit, and do something like that here to continue this extra piece, which now I'm just going to cut a triangle off here, and this will sort of give the illusion of bringing those together because it's neither very dark or very light. And then move on with another set of strips. I think, for my eye anyway, that's a little much. I have so much going on, especially over here, that I think that's too much. So I either need to leave this as is with nothing across there, or put in another color. I think I'm going to skip one and then put in a different color and see how that looks. This is, as I feared, getting pretty heavy over here. And you might also notice where I cut this wedge shape here, it's less noticeable than when I did it here. First of all, well, this isn't much of a wedge either. There's so much contrast between that and the strips on either side of it, that is very much prominent. Here, not so much, because they sort of blend together on this side. So I'm going to just leave that as is. Add these 2 sets of strips, and then I will add this set of strips, these 2 strips. I'm getting an awful lot of polka dotty stuff going in there, aren't I? This one looks different enough. I think I'll put this in next, so we aren't overwhelmed with dots. I love dots. I really love dots. But, so something like that, and then I'll add another bright color in down here. Those 2 sets of strips are finished, and I have wedged this one because it was a very wide strip, and as I said, this is very heavy looking over on that side. So I think I'm going to do purple here, and it's my favorite color, so it may be a pretty good sized piece. I'm happy to say there is no leaf mowing going on today. I didn't quite get my yard finished before the batteries on my mower ran down, but I do actually like to leave some leaves on the ground for the critters over the winter. So that's all right. And the dogs have been out. Courtney just called them back in, so I think we're good. All right, that's about right. Stitch across there, flip it down, and then I probably don't need to trim it for bleed through, but I want to reduce the bulk under there. Purple pop of color. And if we were to put on another set of strips, it would look like that. I like it in many ways, but it's too visually heavy over there. But as I say, if I were to say cut this to be a block and then rotated it so that the darker side was in a different place, then the eye would move around with it better than that. This is just going down here, and every once in a while it comes over here. That's okay. But in this case, I think I really would want to do that block configuration and have it turned in various ways. So I'm going to leave, I'll put these 2 strips on, and then I'm going to leave this as is for an example to compare it with the next thing we're going to do, which is to alternate these. Lighter, darker, darker, lighter, going down. And then let's just try it with a single pop of color. This is almost, I almost want something brighter than this purple. I really want the eye to go there. Oh, here's another thought though. Hang on. Let me go over to what we've already done. If you'll read, sorry, I'm talking to the drawer. If you'll remember, we did this black circle on here just to move the eye a bit. We could do, oh, that's better, isn't it? That is better if we put a circle on there. And that might not be the right size, but that balances out the weight of the dark on this side. Makes it more of an abstract kind of look. It could be a circle of a pop of color, but I think I like it this way so that it isn't competing with that, but still balancing out that side. And it wouldn't have to be a circle. You could applique a triangle on there or a strip or whatever. Okay, that feels better to me if we do that. Balances it better. All right, so I'm going to do that, probably cut another circle because I don't want to lose the concept of the circle on this piece. I have things to do, and then I'll be back. And we're ready for the green, and I'm going to use this one. One of my art friends commented on one of my design posts the other day that this was my signature color, and I hadn't really thought about it, but she might be right. Now I am ready for the next set of strips, and on this one I'm alternating. So find another one here. Yeah. Guess I've used all these. This is what I mean about this fabric. Cute stuff. There's a little coffee cup. All right, I'm going to cut a couple of these because I didn't run out, but I ran out of this particular fabric. Oh, that's a cactus. Isn't that cute? All right, that will be enough for now. And that will be my next set. When I come back, we have another decision to make. Okay, this is actually quite a different look. In some ways, very similar, of course, but also quite different in how these balance out from this one. You may have a preference for one or the other. Maybe hard to tell yet. So the decision we have to make is, are we going to put another piece here, or are we going to do another round before we add this in? I use the royal we a lot, and I'm not sure that's the royal we, but I'm trying to include all of you in this video, and I'm quite aware that at least some of you are yelling at me trying to make yourselves heard. No, don't do that. So am I going to add that on, or am I going to wait another round? Let's see how that might look here. And it's the same print, but whoops, gotta do the white one first. Order matters. So do the, whoop, nope. Black first. Oh, here's an interesting thing. So this is what happens. Let's try a different print there for sure. So when you alternate it and don't have, say, something, this piece here, then your V's are going to end up being the same here. Isn't that interesting? I guess that makes sense. Am I doing this right? Yep. Interesting. So that it, and let's just see how that turns out. So let's do one without this here. This is going to really highlight that we're alternating. This will look more like a single knit stitch because these two darker pieces come together down here in the V. So that is going to, interesting. All right, so we're going to try one without this, and then we'll go do another one with a green in there, just so we can see how that looks. I'm thinking that in a way that's almost more interesting, isn't it? You see this, and then every once in a while it's divided. I wouldn't necessarily do this every other one as I've done here. I might space them out unevenly. So here are two pieces so far. They don't really go together like that, but they could. Heck of a piecing job. I like both of them for different reasons. They could go on the same quilt. You could square them off into squares and turn them. You could do them as longer strips. You could do them as different sizes and shapes and to put them together. You could also, of course, add in the other pieces that we've done, but I'm liking the black and white with a bit of bright. So we have looked at different options for the wonky Pioneer braid, and this is our latest set. We've tried it with alternating black and white over here with brights on this side. We have done it with these pieces in between and the background basically on this triangular point. And then we did all of the darker black and whites on the right, lighter ones on the left, and then we alternated. I really like this design, so thanks Raymond for that suggestion of this piece down here. Gave us some other places to go. And of course you could be also changing color over here if you wanted to. I don't think that circle would be necessary over here. It might be kind of difficult to do actually. It's not bad. Don't hate it. It might be kind of fun to do a circle that's half white and half black and then place it on a seam. I'm gonna give that a go. You thought we were going to get to more of the Purl today, didn't you? As I was preparing to cut this circle, which I realize this is a very large piece for a small circle, but this just takes me back, had a flashback to It Takes a Village. Wouldn't that be cool? You could do like a portal style window in that. You could either cut it out and do, say, a reverse applique kind of thing, or put a circle on top of it. Cool. But I digress. All right, I am back. And I am, as Seven Plaza would say, rubbish at cutting circles. But what do you think? Kind of a little bit interesting. Let's leave that there just as something to think about. Circles could be any size, of course, and you could vary the sizes if you're doing more than one. Interesting. Now, it has occurred to me, as perhaps it has to you, that I will be wanting to cut a circle from a black and white stripe. We're never going to get to Purl. I'm going to do that just because I can. I think it's going to be a little much, but let's give it a go. I have several rectangles here. I didn't measure them. I tried to cut them straight, almost succeeded here. So I didn't have any particular size in mind. I just wanted the stripes to be going in different directions. So might be like this. Wow, it's really something without something to break it up, isn't it? Wow. We'll have to explore that once we do the loopies on it. So now I'm going to take some scraps and be cutting some loops for this. These will be probably loops more like that, and these will be deeper loops. We'll see. Sorry if this is bugging your eyes. I gotta move some of those off. I am going to go with this lovely Me and My Sisters fabric this time, because the stripes will hold it fine. They will not be competing much. All right, this is a much steeper curve than I've had on this. I'm good with that. It's a little bit like the stitch has been stretched down. I don't need this to be even. This will be a, I don't know, boucle kind of yarn. That's pretty darn even, Karen. Not too bad, but all right. Maybe not steep enough for this piece. Need a wider piece to do that. Oh, sorry. Oh, what about this? If I sewed those together and had that across it. That's a little much, isn't it? Wow. Okay. Do you begin to get the feeling that this black and white stripe is going to be interesting in massive amounts? All right, on this one, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to lose these ends, but that's improv for you. Maybe I'll stitch it on first. All right, I did not put this on fusible web, but I am going to have stabilizer underneath it, and that worked fine for this. So I think it'll be our, ooh, then I have this piece. Now it looks like kind of a string bikini sort of thing, doesn't it? Well, not string exactly, but a bikini, which even in my younger days, I was not a bikini sort of person. Okay, so what am I going to stitch this with? White, black. I don't think black. I think I'll use white, partly because I'm lazy and it's what's on the machine, but partly because this, I like this fine. I could do a decorative stitch. This is just a zigzag. Could do a decorative stitch, but I'm just going to go with the zigzag because this is the part of the design that I'm focusing on right now. And this is a pretty steep curve, and the zigzag I think will handle it better than some of the other stitches. And I can always change the width of the stitch so that it can go around those curves better. So I'm going to get some stabilizer under this, use a zigzag stitch with white thread. There's exploration number 1. I have chosen here to use solids rather than, say, let me grab this one. This Me and My Sister's print, which I adore, because I think there's so much going on with these black and white prints that this is just too much busyness. This draws the eye in and then gives it a little place to rest for a minute. If you like the bright prints, absolutely use those. And of course that opens up more ideas for exploration if you use just, say, plain black and white here with wild prints there, and say in that place, all kinds of things that you could do, you know. Could put a white circle over here, couldn't you, to help balance? Not sure, maybe. And you could mix these, so it wouldn't have to be just circles that you use. You could also use strips at the same time, or whatever you want, just to give it a, I don't know, Miro kind of look. All right, so that's our first. Now let's try alternating the dark and the light so it balances each other out. As in life, I guess. The dark and the light, the shadow and whatever. So that's next up. Same process, except that I'm going to use just a single color, and I'm going to try to make it like a bright green or something. So I'll get us started on that. That's why I like comments. Learn so much about myself. All right. So I'm going to do this. I have chosen to not cut wedge shapes on here. I'm just going to do, there'll be varying widths on these strips, but they're all going to be roughly parallel edges. I'm going to add this on. And I don't know precisely. You know what I'm going to do is just cut myself a triangle. And that will give me some limits so I'm not sitting here thinking about it for the next half century. How big do I want that to be? Let's do it about there, which will be a reasonably small piece, but I think that's all right. A tale of two braids. So here we have the accent circles. And you could turn that any which way, of course. I think it absolutely does not work with that. It sort of gets lost in the shuffle. Could work there, maybe. Less so there, I think. It may be size partially, both of the width of the stripe and the size of the circle. Of the three options with this one, this is the one that I like the best, but I don't think I like it as well as that. This is, I like bold graphic kinds of shapes, and I think as much as I love stripes, I just think it needs that solid to balance that. So I will save this for another project. It might work. What do we already have? Oops, you'd like to see that, you say? Possibly. I'll stick a pin in it. And we'll see later on, and maybe it will strike me as what I want. All right. I'm going to try to make a start on Purl. And we may have to do the bulk of it next week. All right, what we decided we wanted to, here's that we again. What I decided I was going to work more on was this concept of the black and white stripe in the back and then just appliquing loop strips on here. These are not very loopy, it's true, but you know, we're just using the Purl as an inspiration start. Now, I can see the stripe coming through here. Ordinarily that would bother me, but it isn't bothering me on this. Maybe it's because I just don't want to do anything about it. But I think it's kind of okay with me. It's a lot okay with me. Now, one of the things that I wanted to explore was, say we had another triangle here with different shapes, and that, of course, is an option. We always have the option of slicing and dicing. You've seen how I love to do that, and aren't you proud of me that I haven't considered doing that with those? Another option, though, is to do squares and rectangles. I could do squares of the same size and then just be rotating them around, which would give me variety in the black and white stripe in its direction. And look at that. A couple of scraps got in back there. That's funky. Anyway, I'm digressing a lot this week. So I want to try something, and we may do some more next week, but I want to try doing just a couple of squares or rectangles of different sizes with this stripe on it, with some loops, and maybe something that's a little loopier than what I have here. So I'm going to take my big black and white stripe. The other thing we could do, of course, is to mix the stripes. This is the Too Cute to Spook, I think is the name of it. This is Me and My Sisters from Halloween of 2022. Should go to Mangelson's and see if I can get some more of it. This is not as stark a white as on here. I think I want to stick with this just for now anyway, just to see how it's going to look when I start moving it around. And also try a deeper loop. So I'm going to cut a couple of rectangles of this and take it from there. I have several rectangles here. I didn't measure them. I tried to cut them straight, almost succeeded here. So I didn't have any particular size in mind. I just wanted the stripes to be going in different directions. So might be like this. Wow, it's really something without something to break it up, isn't it? Wow. We'll have to explore that once we do the loopies on it. So now I'm going to take some scraps and be cutting some loops for this. These will be probably loops more like that, and these will be deeper loops. We'll see. Sorry if this is bugging your eyes. I gotta move some of those off. I am going to go with this lovely Me and My Sisters fabric this time, because the stripes will hold it fine. They will not be competing much. All right, this is a much steeper curve than I've had on this. I'm good with that. It's a little bit like the stitch has been stretched down. I don't need this to be even. This will be a, I don't know, boucle kind of yarn. That's pretty darn even, Karen. Not too bad, but all right. Maybe not steep enough for this piece. Need a wider piece to do that. Oh, sorry. Oh, what about this? If I sewed those together and had that across it. That's a little much, isn't it? Wow. Okay. Do you begin to get the feeling that this black and white stripe is going to be interesting in massive amounts? All right, on this one, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to lose these ends, but that's improv for you. Maybe I'll stitch it on first. All right, I did not put this on fusible web, but I am going to have stabilizer underneath it, and that worked fine for this. So I think it'll be our, ooh, then I have this piece. Now it looks like kind of a string bikini sort of thing, doesn't it? Well, not string exactly, but a bikini, which even in my younger days, I was not a bikini sort of person. Okay, so what am I going to stitch this with? White, black. I don't think black. I think I'll use white, partly because I'm lazy and it's what's on the machine, but partly because this, I like this fine. I could do a decorative stitch. This is just a zigzag. Could do a decorative stitch, but I'm just going to go with the zigzag because this is the part of the design that I'm focusing on right now. And this is a pretty steep curve, and the zigzag I think will handle it better than some of the other stitches. And I can always change the width of the stitch so that it can go around those curves better. So I'm going to get some stabilizer under this, use a zigzag stitch with white thread. And here's this piece. Again, you can see the stripe through here. It's not bothering me, but let me remove the stabilizer and then I'll go in and trim that from there, and you can see the difference in which you like, if this bothers you or not. Here we are. This time I removed the stabilizer, but I did not trim out the black and white stripe. You really can't see much shadowing on this one, a little bit over here, but just for a comparison's sake. Now, to be consistent, I'm going to try out a black circle here and there. Might overlap. Not sure. Of course, we have this piece, which could become a circle. I'm thinking curve and circle because we have so much straight line going with that stripe that I just think it needs curves. I could do, well, of course I could do the loops closer together and have them more stacked, I guess. This is a steeper curve than that. But I want it to be kind of just improvisational. I could also do some circles out of the same fabric, or say a hot pink or a yellow as circles, which could, you know, be a boucle yarn or something. All right, let me try that. I think I've got a plain pink somewhere I could cut a circle out of and see what happens. I think my camera's slipping again this week. Yikes. So here's a pink circle of the same size. Nope, not that. And then I thought maybe a smaller circle. I'm really thinking though that maybe I want to continue color scheme here rather than that black circle, do either a yellow or an orange, and not necessarily the same size. This may be too large, although it is helping to draw the eye away from this big expanse of black and white stripe. Of course, I could use a stripe that isn't quite so bold. Now it begins to look like a necklace that has beads on it. That's a fun idea. All right, let me try cutting this one a little smaller. So here's a smaller circle, which I think is maybe more interesting than having these two circles the same size. And they wouldn't have to be circles. The boucle, the nub on the boucle, or even a slub in the yarn probably wouldn't be a circle. So you could do about any shape. And maybe the pink one needed to be larger and the black one smaller. And I could see maybe adding some more shapes and colors onto this to draw the eye more from this bold black and white stripe. I'm determined to make this black and white stripe work. Just because it gives me a chance to practice some design ideas instead of giving in and saying, all right, it's just not going to work. I want to figure out a way to make it work, or at least work better. Now, in the process of doing that, I have to say I took the pink out of this shape, and would this not be a cool shape to start a quilt piece on? Wow, yes. Okay, anyway, here we are. This is the sum total of what we managed to finish today for the Purl. We will revisit it some next week, I think. I hadn't planned to, but here we are. So we had a couple of, oops, this needs to go back over here, doesn't it? We had a couple of ideas tried out some things for the knit inspiration. And this black circle to balance out the darker side here, and 2 different colors at the points. And here we alternated the darker and lighter from side to side, used the same color, and then split a circle to add on there. May or may not be something you want to do. And of course, you could do these every one. To me, it just wasn't as, I could picture it in my mind, and it was not as interesting to me as wandering around and, oops, there's another pop of color. If you're going color, 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 your eye gets used to it and there's no surprise there. And that's, to me, not as fun. So there are a couple of our knit options, and here, so I drop everything, is one of our Purl options. We're just getting started on the Purl. All right, so that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe and like and comment what you would have done differently, ideas for what else I might do or do differently, or just if you disagreed with me on something, that's all right. We're here to explore, and part of that, it's not just me exploring, it's you along with me to say, nope, not gonna do that, or yeah, I like that idea, but I'd do it this way. That's what we're all about. And comments and likes help other people to find this channel, so I always appreciate those, and I always appreciate hearing from you. I like to meet and chat with you. Next week we'll do some more on Purl, and this may end up extending way beyond Purl. The Purl stitch, the P-U-R-L stitch. Ooh, Purl and Purl. Yeah, it's time for lunch. Again, hope to see you next week. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.